June 11th, 2019, 8 a.m. to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. We do have a quorum, so go on to item number 2. Approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll move it.
I'll second.
We have a motion to second to approve the minutes. Any discussion on any? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item number 3.1, administrative activities for May of 2019. Heather?
Good morning. You have your reports before you. I'll just point out the public housing, we had approved a capital improvement project last year to install gutter guards on all the rental houses. And weather came in a little earlier than anticipated last year, so it got postponed until the spring, but that project has now been completed. And under the EDA report, I'll just note that, as you know, we were participating in Housing Institute number 6, and we had our final retreat in May. But our local group does intend to continue our team meetings, so that would be the New Ulm group along with Gaylord, Winthrop, and Gibbon. And we're meeting next Monday to kind of talk about where to go from here. And Commissioner Brahm and I spoke yesterday about revamping the housing needs housing task force that we had going prior to the Housing Institute, and maybe getting that group back together again to focus on the New Ulm housing needs. Do you have any feedback on the Housing Institute? Share?
No, I thought it was worthwhile, although it was a lot of trips to Wilmer and all that. But I think the collaboration that we're developing on a regional level, I think is going to be beneficial for the local community, especially when we're looking at things with affordable housing and the impact. And I think we've seen the studies that show so many people coming into town to New Ulm where they're living out of town. I think you can say a lot of that is with the periphery. So I think if we look at developing housing in some of these areas and work on a more coordinated effort, it's going to be beneficial in the long term for our community.
All right. And then on the Garden Terrace report, I'll just point out expenses were higher than normal during the month of May, and that was due to the payment in lieu of taxes. And also a big change there, the on-site caretakers that have been there since the buildings opened are retiring. Their last day will be July 15th. So that'll be a big change for the tenants as well as for us to have new people coming in. So Lloyd Management is currently advertising for their replacements. Hope to have someone in place this summer, but they do have staff to fill in the meantime if needed.
Heather, does that offer an opportunity to look at a local company or opening up for bids versus just, do we have a contract with Lloyd?
We
provide an opportunity for bids.
Mm-hmm. We do have a contract with Lloyd. I believe it would be month to month. I mean, we've been with them for many, many years. It's something we could look at. I know Lloyd Management also manages Skyline Terrace in town, and they will be managing the new Emerson Union apartments. And so they were looking at trying to have a New Ulm team, both with the office manager and maintenance, with the 3 buildings in town to be able to fill in for each other. So they were looking at maybe taking a new approach with the change that's happening at Garden Terrace.
I don't have any complaints with Lloyd Management. I want to make sure that's clear, but the only thing the few tenants have talked to me about is why don't we have a local caretaker versus a company out of Mankato, so, or St. Pete.
The management company,
Yeah.
you mean? Yeah. I mean, the only other management company I'm aware of in New Ulm is Upper Midwest Management.
And they handled a couple of our issues this last year really well, the window issue, and they really came up to speed on some of those projects. But I just thought I'd ask the question. Thank you.
Yeah, if the board would want to look at going out for bids, we could put that on a future agenda if you want us to, I guess.
Well, after you said they were trying to work in conjunction with our other facilities, I really kind of like that concept. So I don't-
Maybe see how that goes. And
Yeah, at least for myself anyway.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Heather? Any questions for Heather? Seeing none, entertain a motion.
I'll offer the motion to approve the report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Broadway House paramedic replacement.
All right, this is a project that you approved at a prior meeting. We went out for bids on the project. We mailed bid packets to 3 contractors, and only 1 bid was received from Poppy Companies in the amount of $27,750. The estimated cost for the project was $30,000, so they're slightly lower. I did contact the other 2, or I attempted to contact the other 2. One no longer works with pneumatic systems unless we are retrofitting them to digital. I did look into that, but the building official didn't recommend that because our building heats and cools 24/7. It's not like City Hall or a school where you could change the temperature at night while it's closed to have energy savings. So they didn't recommend, the cost was a lot higher to switch to digital. It was more like $100,000. So we're just upgrading some of the current equipment, but staying with the pneumatic system. The other company, I tried to contact them. I could not find online a current mailing address for the company. The building official wasn't aware of a new address. I just wasn't able to get in touch with that other company, so. I mean, I tried to get more than 1 bid, I just wasn't able to. But I am comfortable going ahead with the bid received from Poppy. They've done a lot of work in our building. They're familiar with our building. They do good work, so.
I'll offer a motion to approve the bid at $27,750.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 4.2, public housing operating budget. Heather?
All right. This is an annual item that we bring before you every year. The public housing operating budget covers the day-to-day operations of the EDA's 50 public housing units. We have the 40 units at Broadway House Apartments, and then we have the 10 scattered site family unit rental houses. The operating budget would cover the upcoming fiscal year, July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. And it must be approved and submitted to HUD prior to the new fiscal year, so by the end of this month. We work with our fee accountant, C. Neighbor, to assemble the budget into the proper HUD format. There weren't any major changes in the budget as compared to the current fiscal year. I'll just note we don't include our capital fund grants as part of the budget. For the current fiscal year through the month of May, we have a deficit of just under $22,000. And the projected deficit for the upcoming fiscal year is about $28,000, and that's caused by several factors: lower rental revenue, increased operating costs, and HUD is, or Congress is prorating our operating subsidy. So we're budgeting for a proration of 95%. That's what C. Neighbor had put in there. Currently, I believe we have an 88% proration, so I don't know if they're hoping for a better proration in the upcoming fiscal year. So it actually the deficit could be higher if that proration is lower than what they're budgeting. We do have adequate reserve funds to address any out of the ordinary or catastrophic events that might occur, and to cover the deficit. A lot of other housing authorities I've talked to don't have any reserves, and so they're using levy dollars to make up their deficit. We've never had to do that, and it would be, several years to come before we'd be looking at anything like that with our healthy reserves that we are fortunate to have. But we are looking at, there are some paths to reposition public housing into a different rental assistance program. And that's something that I've started to go to some classes about to learn about. I have another meeting next week to dig into that a little further. And that's something I'll be coming back with information to the board. I don't think we need to make any rash decisions. But maybe in the next couple years, we want to look at transitioning to a different program because the future for public housing funding, it doesn't look like we're going to be getting out of this deficit cycle anytime soon.
I guess under contract costs, why is that a $13,000 increase?
Let me see.
And under ordinary maintenance and operation, you got salaries, materials, and then you got contract cost, the 56,000.
They're probably looking at our year-to-date expenses, and they've probably ticked up. I know we had a lot of snow removal this year, so I'm sure that's part of it. And just, costs go up with inflation, so they're probably just budgeting an increase there because they're seeing an increase in our expenses.
Why is rental income projected to go down?
Again, they're looking at they look at the first 6 months of the current fiscal year, and they kind of project that. So our current rental revenues are lower, so they're budgeting for a lower rental revenue in the upcoming year as well.
Is that impacted too by the anticipated subsidies that we're looking at getting? I know that you had said previously that Congress is, these have been kind of going on a downward spiral overall for a number of years, so that's what the trend is, and I think that would be reflected. It's not that we're not renting the units, it's what we're anticipating receiving in subsidies from the government to offset those
well,
rents.
the dwelling rentals are a different line item separate from the operating subsidy.
Right.
So the current budget, we have about $155,000 budgeted for rental revenue, and they're budgeting for the upcoming year about $146,000. Again, I just think they're looking at our current rent revenue, and it must be coming in lower than they budgeted. So for the future budget, they ticked that down a little bit. And that just has to do with our tenant population at any given time and, whether they're working, not working. In the rental houses, I guess we see more fluctuation with new families coming in, having lower income, and then maybe over time their income goes up. Broadway House is more stable. Most of the people at Broadway House are on Social Security of one form or another, and that stays pretty stable. So I'd say it's our rental houses where we have the families that are working, and that just fluctuates.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions? If not, entertain a resolution.
I'll offer a resolution, waive the reading, accepting the report, operating budget, excuse me.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to offer the resolution, waive the reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none. Heather, please call the roll.
All right, Commissioner Brum,
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni,
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Yes.
President Schmitz.
Yes, motion carries. Next item, EDA claims list. You have them in front of you. Anything stand out, Heather, you need to report on?
To take a peek.
M&R Paving only charges $30 for snow removal? That's a deal.
And I said last month that I think we had our final snow removal bill, and I was wrong. We did get another, this $30 one trickled in. Must have had a little dusting, I don't know.
Yeah, must have been
Back
something
from
small.
April.
April
yeah.
pile.
The only thing I'll point out here is the capital fund payment to Southern Minnesota Custom Gutters. As I mentioned, that project's been completed.
I'll offer the motion to approve the budgeted claims for this month.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Cash transfers from the EDA to the TIF Fund, Milford Heights Phase One Fund, 365.
Commissioners, this is just more or less a cleanup item. You may recall in the past, the EDA has supported the TIF fund at Milford Heights with annual loans to keep them in the black. In 2017, you forgave all of those loans because the interest itself was driving up a higher need for more and more loans. So you forgave that interest in those loans. This and the next item are just cleanup items to keep that fund just in the black, and these loan amounts will continue until those assessments are paid off in a couple of years. But the amounts should be getting smaller because the TIF revenue is actually going up every year, so.
And we're still trying to sell those lots, right, Chris?
Yes, we are.
So this would just be a transfer, not a loan, just a cash
Okay.
transfer.
Thank you. Any questions? If not, entertain a resolution.
I'll offer a resolution and waive the reading approving the transfer of funds dated May 31st from EDA to the TIF H5 Milford Heights Phase 1 Fund 365 in the amount of $24,530.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to offer resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. Item 5.2, cash transfer from the EDA to the TIF H5 Milford Heights Phase 1 Fund, 365. I guess you discussed that one already, so that's an amount of $1,025.
I will offer the resolution and waive the reading.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second to offer resolution, waived reading. Any more discussion? Seeing none, Heather, please call the roll.
Commissioner Brum?
Yes.
Commissioner Yanni?
Yes.
Commissioner Schultz?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
President Schmitz?
Yes, motion carries. 5.3, Section 8, HVAC for the public housing revised income limits.
Right.
HVAC either, it's
another
HCV.
Housing choice voucher. Another annual item. The Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD, is required by law to update the income limits used for the rental assistance programs on an annual basis. The income limits are used to determine the eligibility of applicants for the rental assistance programs. I will note the median income for a household of 4 has increased for Brown County from $70,300 to $74,800. It's a larger than normal jump in median income from one year to the next. I guess that's good news. Incomes must be on the rise. So you can see the current income limits are listed that were effective April 1st, 2018, as compared to the revised income limits that are effective April 24th, 2019. I should have had this on the May agenda. I missed it, so I'm a little late getting these to you, but we don't have any say in what the income limits are or when they're effective.
But they seem like a bigger jump than normal. I mean, look at the family of
They-
7, a $4,000 jump.
Yeah, they really went up this year.
Yeah, it's just a big jump, but I know we don't have control over it, so I'll offer the motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 6.1, Alliance Bank lease agreement.
All right, so we were approached by a representative from Alliance Bank. As you know, they are under quite a large construction project, and as a result, they've lost their use of their parking lot at this time. So they're looking for some off-street parking options for their staff to use during regular bank business hours. If the request is approved, the city attorney would prepare a lease agreement that would outline the terms and conditions. There are no other uses of the property proposed at this time. Broadway House Apartments does rent the property from the EDA during the winter months when we have snow removal, so the tenants can move their cars, but they're not using it this time of year. So the proposed agreement could commence immediately, and I'm proposing an end date of October 31st, 2019, but we can be flexible on that. It'll just depend on how early the snow flies. And the bank might still be under construction and in need of parking at that time, so we'll just have to play that by ear. I'm proposing a rent of $50 a month, simply because that's what Broadway House is paying to rent the same parking lot. But the EDA can determine if another amount is appropriate. I just plugged that in as a proposal. We are allowing the New Ulm Baseball Association to use the parking lot for their sign, but I don't think that would interfere with the parking because that's more up by the sidewalk and there wouldn't be any parking in that area. They're using it for free. They're not paying for the space, so this shouldn't interfere with that agreement at all. We should be able to do both.
Building would not be complete by October 31st. Would it?
Maybe you want to come up.
We're just looking for,
Please step up.
I'm sorry.
Name and address for the record.
Okay. I'm Bob Ryder, Regional President for Alliance Bank, and
Yeah.
what we're looking for is really anything we can come up with off-street parking for as much time as possible. I realize our new building will not be complete, but one of the things that creates a great deal of congestion for parking on the street right now is when we have baseball games. We have, on a normal day, we have 24 employees in our bank, working in that bank, and they're all drive to work, so we have 24 vehicles on the street. And like I said, on days when there are baseball games, it becomes quite congested. I know the restaurant across the street does get somewhat frustrated with more of the on-street parking being utilized, as well as some of the residents in the east part of that block. So this won't carry us through till the completion of the building, but it would get us through what we perceive to be a busier time of the year.
Any comments? I guess I don't have any problem with it. I guess my thinking is we can, I don't even know if we need to set a date. I don't know how much it does get used during snow removal or whatever. I think since it's a local business, I think we should kind of go out of our way to make everything work and just
I was thinking
about
this-
the project, I guess.
I was thinking the same thing, that there's got to be a way that we can work together even through these winter months. And, if you can stay in contact with Heather as far as when there is an obvious snowfall that Broadway House people are going to have to move their vehicles, so we can clean that up, but that's only maybe half a day, potentially longer, I suppose.
I think it's usually a full day because we have, first they clear that parking lot so the tenants can move their cars, and then they come the next day to do the Broadway House parking lot. So,
Right.
yeah.
The other comment that I have is, Broadway House is really our apartment, so that's probably why we charge $50 a month. That's a really good deal.
Right.
Really, really, really good deal. So I think we'd have to be fair and charge a little bit more than $50 a month for that entire parking lot. But not gouge you or anything, but $50 doesn't seem fair on the opposite end either.
Well, and Broadway House does pay that year-round, even though they're only using it,
Right.
a couple times a year. So they're actually paying $600 a year. But like I say, it was the only comparable I had.
Yeah, I agree.
According to the Park and Rec, the last baseball game was played at
That's true.
Johnson Field
Last night,
until
right. So you won't have the Johnson Park baseball parking issues
Oh, okay.
for another year or till spring.
Oh,
You might have construction parking issues, I don't know about that, but. My brain was going to at least 200 a month, but how does that sound?
yeah, I don't disagree.
How
What do
many?
we get for our lease parking?
Oh, I was gonna ask how many spots are
Yeah.
available. Do you know?
They're not
Based on
marked. We don't have painted
24?
spots, but we looked at it and we think about a dozen, easily maybe 15. The bank had talked about maybe painting some stripes so people, can more easily see where to park. Otherwise, if it's not marked, people can park maybe take up more than one space, and that would reduce the amount of cars you can get in there, so.
What if we work out an agreement, the bank is willing to paint it, you're saying?
I believe
Stripe
so.
it? $100 a month, and they stripe it for us. They got that expense, we don't have none. We can use it in the future because it'll be already striped, so.
Mhm.
Just
I
an
can live with
idea.
that. So I think our motion, or I'll go ahead and offer, we need to get a contract written up, correct?
Yeah, I have a draft contract from the city attorney. We would just need to plug in any changes that are made today.
And then
so.
our city attorney will look at that.
Mhm.
So I'll go ahead and offer that motion, but I want to include the, change a little bit for the, change it to $100 a month, and then include some new language that would not end on October 31st. But have Roger work out some wording about continuing through the winter months, except when snow removal needs to happen. And Roger can figure that out, and you can work up them on that.
Very good.
We need to be good neighbors.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
luck. Gotta wait for you to come back, Dan?
That's all right. Carry on.
You probably want to officially abstain, though, for the record.
Yeah, I did want to abstain, so that I was not involved.
Yep.
All right, we'll go on to item number 7, Economic Development Director, Assistant City Manager Activity Report.
The only real thing of note is our down payment assistance program is going to go live June 17th. I'm finally finishing meeting up with a couple banks and some realtors this week, but June 17th, the down payment assistance program is going to go live.
Thank
And
you.
do you have an update on your former position?
Currently, right now, no. An offer has been put out there, has not been accepted yet, and that it'll, if accepted, it will be going to council next week.
So next month, we'll have a new person in your chair.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, guess we don't have to, we need a motion to accept it, I suppose.
I'll offer the motion to accept the report.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Seeing none? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. With no more business, meeting adjourned.
There we go.
Eight.